This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
Newcastle United 0, Liverpool 0. No bang to end the year as Reds frustrated by Bruce's boys. I'm Clarke. Welcome to the Debrief here on the Blood Red channel as we bring you instant reaction to the goalless draw with Newcastle United this evening. Matt Addison is here with me. And Matt, what were your thoughts on that? A goalless draw at St James's Park, and dare I say it, the Reds could have been there all night and maybe wouldn't have scored.
Yeah, I mean, it was exactly the game that you feared, wasn't it? It was pretty much a carbon copy of West Brom in many respects, that Liverpool didn't quite move the ball fast enough. I thought they were significantly improved in terms of the performance, certainly on the second half compared to West Brom. They did move it a little bit more. They did have chances, but as you say, it just felt at times like they were never, ever going to score. It didn't matter, how many chances Mohamed Salah had. He just didn't ever look like scoring. And again, I said it in the West Brom game. I thought Shaqiri should have come on a little bit earlier. Again, I thought it was the same today. I thought Liverpool just needed somebody, and we saw it with Thiago. He was only on the pitch 15 minutes, but he was probably Liverpool's best player over the course of the 90 minutes, which, as ridiculous as it sounds, is probably absolutely true. And I just thought Liverpool needed some extra composure in that final third. I think Shaqiri could have offered that, but he was only on the pitch, 90 seconds, 2 minutes. And yeah, it was another frustrating night for Liverpool, and one which ends the year in a really strange fashion, because it's just not the Liverpool that we've grown used to this season.
Yeah, top of the league, yet finding things to be frustrated and irritated by. But I suppose that is sort of exactly where Liverpool are right now. If you're joining us on Facebook and on YouTube, do leave us your reaction. We'll try and get as many of them on screen as we possibly can. We'll get to Thiago coming on for his first involvement since October as well. But Matt, we've already had one comment on screen, and it is a worrying trend now that Liverpool are beginning to set of not being able to break down these sides down the bottom end of the table.
To be honest, I disagree. I don't think it's a case of not being able to break them down tonight. I think Liverpool did have at least 5 or 6 clear-cut chances. Mohamed Salah had 2. But Firmino's header and the chance that he had in the second half, that's another couple that you should really be scoring those 2 goals, at least one of the 2 for each of those players. They were both very, very wasteful tonight. And on another day, Liverpool, could have snatched just one of those 5 or 6 chances, and we're talking about it as a mentality giant, a game where Liverpool have not played particularly well, but still just won. And the frustration is that they did create those chances, they just didn't take them. And again, as much as the performance wasn't what we expected from Liverpool, it's that finishing, isn't it? It's that quality in the final third. We know how many players Liverpool have got who can put the ball in the back of the net, but they just haven't managed to do that really in the last couple of games. I mean, look, it wasn't a brilliant performance from Liverpool, but they still had chances. They still found gaps. And even when Thiago came on the pitch, you thought, time was running out, but they just added another option, another body that created another couple of chances. That pass into Trent Alexander-Arnold when he crossed it in for Sadio Mane was absolutely brilliant. And it did have those one-off moments of quality, but just not that final touch to get the ball over the line. I thought Carl Darlow in the Newcastle goal was absolutely brilliant, but the frustration, I think, for Liverpool is not so much that they didn't create the chances, it's just that they just didn't manage to squeeze the ball over the line.
Yeah, a 7th game then out of the 16 Premier League games this season that Liverpool haven't won. They've now drawn 6. They've lost 1, of course, out of the 16 games they've had. It is, I know the point you make there, Liverpool did create chances against Newcastle tonight, but they're not putting them away right now.
No, exactly that. I think it's easy to sort of point out that they're missing Diogo Jota. That's absolutely true. I think just having that extra option, if one of the front 3 or 2 of the front 3 are not firing, you can just bring somebody else on, and it just takes the pressure off the whole team, doesn't it? You can even go with a 4-2-3-1 against a team like a Newcastle, or certainly against West Brom at home at Anfield in the last game. It's just having that extra option. I think Shaqiri, I mentioned him before, I think he is that extra option for me. In the absence of Jota, he is the one that Liverpool should have been turning to a little bit sooner. I think the fact that he didn't come on until late, the fact that he didn't come on at all, did he, against West Brom, I think suggests that maybe he's just not got the fitness at this moment in time, which, Jurgen Klopp and his coaching staff will have far more intel on that and how he is, compared to what we do looking in from the outside. But that was the frustration for me, that Liverpool didn't change it quick enough against West Brom. Today, they didn't change it quick enough again, but it is, you keep coming back to it. It's just that wastefulness in front of goal. They should have had at least 1 or 2 goals there. It should really have been a lot more comfortable because, for a team like Newcastle to essentially just do a complete carbon copy of what West Brom did, and for Liverpool not to really learn from that and not to fully put right what they didn't do against West Brom, that's the real frustration for Liverpool, ending up with only a point once again.
I suppose the frustration with that, though, is that the onus is on Liverpool to break them down, albeit obviously Newcastle were the home side, West Brom were the away side when they came to Anfield. But just sort of thinking about it as well, are these 2 games, point you made before about if Liverpool had got a goal, we would be saying mentality giants, they always find a way to win. Do you think it's got anything to do with obviously no crowds in the grounds and Liverpool a side that do at times rely off that emotion and really feed off it and go right to the last?
Possibly. I think it's possibly a little bit too easy to sort of say that in hindsight. I don't know whether we're sort of applying that to these events after they've already happened or whether that is the case. I think it's impossible to tell, isn't it, really? I think 1 or 2 of those chances you'd expect Liverpool to take on another day. And I think the only way you can assess this little patch of form from Liverpool is at the end of January or into February when they've had 1 or 2 more of these games. Is there a pattern that emerges? I think it would be slightly too reactionary now to just say that, obviously West Brom has happened, now Newcastle has happened, that there's a real issue with breaking down these sides. But look, going forward, if it continues, it's something that Liverpool have to think about. I mean, they've had 2 90 minutes now where they should be able to learn going forward. I mean, they should have done that tonight, of course, but whoever the next team is to sit in and try that against them, you just have to hope that, first of all, Thiago is fit to start that game, because I think he would have made a huge difference if he'd have been on the pitch for, the whole match instead of just, a sixth of it. That would have been a huge thing for Liverpool, but it can't just be down to him. It's got to be a learning curve for the whole team to make sure that they put right the wrongs in that next opportunity.
Yeah, and I suppose even sort of mentioning Newcastle United, they did have a couple of chances, albeit they only had 26% of the ball in the end. Liverpool had sort of 74% of the ball, 11 shots for Liverpool, 4 on target, 2 on target for Newcastle from their 8. And the 2 chances they had on target through Callum Wilson and Fabian Schär were 2 decent opportunities as well, it has to be said.
Yeah, I thought Nat Phillips didn't look particularly comfortable at times. I think Callum Wilson is really, really good. He's absolutely superb at what he does. We know that he's very, very strong. He's very quick. Physically, I thought he had the better of Liverpool's back line at times tonight. And that's not a massive surprise, is it? We know what Phillips brings to the table. We know the only reason that he's on the pitch is because there's just so many injuries in that position. Likewise, Firmino, he shouldn't have had to have played in that position long term. Unfortunately for Liverpool, he has. And I thought, Newcastle, they looked, even with their own injuries, you think of Alan St-Maximin, for example, how many problems could he have caused that Liverpool back line? Because I think he is another one. If you had him and Callum Wilson combined, Liverpool could have been in real trouble there. But Newcastle did have a threat. I thought they did have 1 or 2 opportunities. I thought first half they looked a little bit more dangerous. Second half they seemed to get a little bit tired. Whether Liverpool sort of seemed to be a little bit wiser to what Callum Wilson was trying to do, I don't know. But it was a frustration that they probably thought that they possibly could have had a goal at some point as well. But flashed up on Twitter there that the expected goals for Liverpool tonight 1.4. Normally with the quality of Liverpool's finishes, you'd expect Liverpool to get a goal, and with the fact that they did in the end keep a clean sheet, you'd expect that would have ended up with the 3 points.
Yeah, certainly. Let's talk then about Thiago before we go. We'd not seen him since October. We knew before the game he was in the matchday squad. We saw a glimpse of him by the end, and maybe even in that cameo at the end, we saw what Liverpool have been missing.
Yeah, 100%. I think if he is fit enough to start against Southampton, 100% he does so, because I didn't think any of Liverpool's midfielders particularly stood out again. I thought all of them were improved on West Brom, but it just isn't the same as when Thiago isn't there. And it sounds absolutely bizarre to say that because we've only seen him for a couple of flashes here and there. That's only his 3rd appearance, isn't it, for Liverpool? So to be sort of reliant on him to such an extent at this stage is a slight worry, but we know for me, he's the best central midfielder there is out there alongside Kevin De Bruyne. And we saw it instantly. For him to have been out injured for 2.5 months and then to come back into the side, instantly put in a performance like that, suppose the only positive thing that you can take from this tonight is that if he can stay fit, we know how good a player now that he can be. And you could see, I think, tonight, such a marked difference between when he wasn't on the pitch and when he was. There was, so many occasions where Liverpool could have moved the ball quicker. They could have and should have made that extra pass, and Thiago just does that without even thinking. So, yeah, it's not exactly a surprise, is it? We knew exactly what Liverpool were getting with him, and he is just an upgrade on any of the other options that they have available. So, yeah, if he's fit, if he's ready and fully available for Southampton, he absolutely walks into that team now.
Yeah, obviously a few days to wait until the Southampton game comes around. But Matt, is there really any changes even at the top end of the pitch Jurgen Klopp can look to make? Obviously now only one goal in the two games with West Brom and with Southampton. That obviously off the back of 7 against Crystal Palace. Maybe we're sort of getting a bit too sort of jumping to conclusions regarding the front three.
Yeah, I mean, look, I wouldn't be looking to change it. I think we know that if you keep giving them chances, eventually they will score. I think there's, an opportunity, I think, for Liverpool to really strike back against Southampton and show exactly what they are made of. I mentioned the XG before, 1.4. That's the highest that Liverpool have had without scoring since April 2018. So it's obviously been a long time. I think today was an anomaly rather than the start of a pattern, or the second game of a pattern, or whatever you sort of want to call it. For me, if you give Liverpool that game again tomorrow with the same team, Liverpool win that match, because there was just, as I say, 5 or 6 opportunities there where they could and probably should have scored. So I think on another day, another occasion, maybe the ball just slightly falls in a different place. Maybe the goalkeeper doesn't quite make the perfect save. Maybe Firmino just, heads it into the corner from that corner kick that Liverpool had. I think on another day, it could have been slightly different. So I wouldn't be too concerned. I wouldn't be too panicking, but, they do have to turn that around sooner rather than later. And Southampton is obviously the next opportunity to do that.
Yeah, it certainly is. Goalless then at St James's Park. Jurgen Klopp and Steve Bruce's post-match press conferences come right here on the Blood Red channel. Do stick with us. But from myself, Guy Clarke, and Matt Addison, thanks for your time and your company. It's bye for now.
This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool